Senator Lyons.
Thank you, Mr Acting Deputy President. I wish to take note of document number 2, which is the West Australian Minister for Disability Services, Mrs Morton, a resolution of the Senate on the 2nd of February.
Yeah.
So I do thank Minister Morton for her response to a motion that certainly I put up. I think there were a number on that day, but one of them was a motion that I put forward. And of course in WA we have the peculiar situation of having 2 trials. The West Australian Government was very late signing on to the NDIS, very, very late, and only came really at the, well, beyond the 11th hour, quite frankly. And despite that, we do have an NDIS trial at the moment up in the Hills area, and I was fortunate enough to go along to the opening of that trial held out in Midland. Very proud to see Labor's NDIS finally starting up in Western Australia, and the trial is going well in the Perth Hills region. But Western Australia also is doing its own trial of its own version of disability support, and that's called My Way. And the history of disability support in Western Australia is a very dark one indeed. We had, particularly in the days when people with disability were institutionalised, we had many, many scandals amongst many organisations that are probably worthy of a Royal Commission. There were people with disability treated appallingly in institutions in Western Australia, lagged behind very conservative organisations running those group homes who thought that they knew best for people with disability. Now, I am pleased to say we are a long way from that now in Western Australia, and we do recognise that people with disability have the same rights and entitlements as people who don't have disability, and we have clearly broken out of that shameful mould of the past that we were stuck in. But of course in Western Australia we have carers, disability carers, who are on absolute poverty wages, and the Barnett government has been quite remiss in terms of looking at how they might improve the funding so that workers with disability can earn a wage that they can live on, that they can buy food and make ends meet. It's quite shameful that that continues in WA while we've got this political split with the WA government doing its own trial. And certainly I've been contacted, as I'm sure other senators in this place have been, by groups who represent people with disability in Western Australia to say they don't want 2 trials. They do not want a West Australian unique system because they know what happened in the past, and they certainly want a national NDIS to be very clear about what their entitlement is. But more alarmingly was the report that our Shadow Minister, Ms Jenny Macklin, put out just last week, where it's been reported in the media that the Turnbull government has some secret plan to take complete control of the National Disability Insurance Scheme, and certainly Labor senators would be alarmed and people with disability would be absolutely let down if we saw curtailing of entitlements and curtailing of this National Disability Insurance Scheme, which people with disability fought so hard, fought so very, very hard to get established, and it's something that Labor is very proud of. Into the future, it will sit in our national psyche in the same way that Medicare does. It's something we should all be proud of, and it's something we should absolutely be striving to keep. But nevertheless, the Australian Financial Review reported last week that the federal government is trying to pressure the states and territories into sweeping changes that would allow the Liberal government to change the funding and who is eligible for NDIS. Now, this has been an area worked out in consultation, absolute consultation with people with disability. They've been at the forefront of designing the NDIS, and yet here we have this secret plan by the Turnbull government to try and undo that in some way. They want to stack the board with their own people who will be puppet men and women that will just do the bidding of the Turnbull government. And let me tell you, it'll be a very brave Turnbull government who takes on people with disability in this country, because what we know of the Turnbull government is that they are fairly weak And so let's hope that people with disability will really complain, as they have been, and been very vocal about this change to their NDIS. It is their NDIS, a scheme they've helped design, they've helped implement, and let's make sure that it remains intact.
Thank you.